Welcome to Pink Blade.
Here, we don't just watch stories.
We step inside them.
Today, we're diving deep into Bridgerton Season 3, Episode 2.
We are looking specifically at the episode titled How Bright the Moon. And based on the absolute mountain of notes we have here, interviews, costume analysis, breakdowns of the cinematography, it really feels like this is the moment the season actually starts.
It really is, yeah. If Episode 1 was, setting the table, putting all the silverware in place, folding the napkins, this episode is where the main course is served.
And a lot of expensive wine gets spilled.
A lot of expensive wine gets spilled. We are looking at a truly pivotal hour of television that I think fundamentally shifts the dynamic of the entire series.
So what's our mission statement for this deep dive?
Yeah.
Because there is so much happening here. It's not just one plot line.
Our mission is to really move beyond just a simple recap. I think anyone who's seen it knows what happens. We're going to deconstruct the social machinery of the time, that whole high society world the characters have to navigate. And then we really need to analyze the specific cinematography of the female gaze, which is a term we hear thrown around a lot, but you rarely see it applied this literally, this intentionally.
And finally, the big one.
The big one. We have to figure out why a simple request for a kiss became one of the most intellectually debated, emotionally charged moments in the entire fandom.
I am so ready. But before we get to the romance or the scandals or the steam, we have to establish the world this episode throws us into. Because reading through this summary, the vibe in the ton feels off. It's chaotic.
Chaotic is exactly the right word.
Yep.
And it all stems from the very top. It starts with Queen Charlotte. She's bored.
But it's more than just boredom, right? It feels strategic.
It's weaponized boredom. We have to look closer at why she's bored. Normally, the queen names a diamond, the season's most eligible debutante, right at the start.
Right. It sets the whole tone.
It sets the pace. It gives everyone a hierarchy. It tells all the suitors where to look. And more importantly, it tells all the mothers who to envy. But here, she's just refusing to name one.
So is she just being indecisive? Or maybe she's losing her touch.
No, not at all. It's a calculated power play. You have to remember, Lady Whistledown, the anonymous gossip columnist, has been taunting her for seasons.
The war of words.
Exactly. And the queen explicitly states in this episode that she will not be bullied by a gossip writer's timeline. She's creating a vacuum of power to prove that she is the one in charge. She's essentially saying, the season doesn't start until I say it starts, no matter what the tabloids say.
And nature, especially social nature, abhors a vacuum.
Absolutely. Without a diamond, the entire social hierarchy is in free fall. And that leads directly to that incredible visual sequence of the bribery.
Oh, the anxious mamas.
The anxious mamas are trying to fill that vacuum by force. They're bringing gifts, they're posturing. They are just terrified that their daughters are going to miss their chance.
Okay, I have to ask about the pineapple. There's this moment where a mother presents a pineapple that is literally encrusted with jewels to the queen. I laughed out loud when I saw it, but your notes suggest I should be taking that fruit a lot more seriously.
You absolutely should. It's a fantastic visual gag, but historically it's so incredibly layered. We have to remember that in the Regency period, a pineapple wasn't just a snack you could pick up at the grocery store.
Right.
It was a massive symbol of wealth and hospitality. They were incredibly difficult to grow in the UK climate. They required these expensive hothouses and immense care, or they had to be imported at a staggering expense.
So just having one meant you had serious money.
Serious money. I mean, they were so rare and expensive that people would actually rent pineapples just to carry them around at parties to look rich.
Wait, rent them? They wouldn't even eat them. They'd just carry them.
Correct. You'd rent it for the evening, walk around with it as an accessory to prove your status, and then you'd return it the next day so someone else could rent it.
That's the Regency equivalent of renting a Lamborghini for your high school reunion.
It's exactly that. So when we see a mother taking this already rare status symbol, which is already a flex, and then literally encrusting it in jewels, that is the absolute peak of desperation. It symbolizes how these families are trying to buy status because the queen has refused to grant it to them naturally.
That context changes the scene completely. It's not just a funny moment. It's a symptom of economic and social desperation.
Precisely. And while everyone is scrambling to get in with the queen, we have this fascinating subplot with the Mondrishes, Will and Alice, that feels like it's telling the complete inverse story.
Right, they're not scrambling to get in. They've been pulled in against their will, almost.
Almost. They've inherited the Kent estate. They have the robes, the massive house, the title. In theory, they've won the game. They have everything those pineapple ladies want.
But they don't seem happy at all. They seem miserable.
They are the cautionary tale. The conflict here is so specific and so telling. Their new housekeeper informs them that to be proper nobility, they must sleep in separate bedrooms.
That scene was actually quite sad. They're standing in this opulent room. It's surrounded by velvet and gold, but they just look so small and lost.
It establishes a key theme for the entire episode, and really for the whole genre. Social elevation often comes at the cost of personal intimacy. They have made it, but the rules of this new world are designed to keep people apart, not bring them together.
It's lonely at the top.
The text suggests they are lonely and miserable amidst their own luxury. It forces you, the audience, to ask, is the status of the ton actually worth having? Is this what everyone is fighting for?
So the show is telling us from the jump, be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. And speaking of people wishing for things, or maybe wishing to avoid things, we have to talk about Francesca Bridgerton.
Yes. She's technically the one the queen actually notices, right? She's the sparkler.
She's the one, but her reaction is completely different from every other debutante we've seen.
She hates it. Or maybe hates is too strong a word. She just seems to want to disappear into the wallpaper. She's actively avoiding the spotlight.
Well, Francesca represents a kind of quiet rebellion. Her motivation is distinct from every other debutante we've seen in the series. Daphne wanted a love match. Anthony wanted a duty match. Francesca wants quiet.
Comfort.
Comfort. She wants a match solely for freedom and comfort. She isn't looking for grand passion or for power. She just wants to be left alone.
I identified with her so much in that scene where she's playing the piano. She wasn't playing for an audience. She was clearly playing just for herself.
And that irony is exactly what catches the queen's eye. In a world full of desperate mamas holding jeweled pineapples, the one girl who completely ignores the queen is the most interesting thing in the room.
It's that classic dynamic disinterest breeds interest.
It always does.
So we have this whole ecosystem. We have the desperate mamas, the unhappy rich couple, and the reluctant sparkler. And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have Penelope Featherington. If Francesca is quietly cupping, Penelope is loudly, publicly drowning.
She is at absolute rock bottom, and we have to understand her headspace going into the meat of this episode. Her family is pressuring her. Her mother, Portia Featherington, is being particularly cruel about her prospects.
Portia is basically telling her to give up, to accept her fate as a spinster.
Yes. But the stakes for Penelope aren't just, oh, I want a boyfriend or I want a pretty wedding. It's so much deeper than that.
Right. It's about her double life. It's about Lady Whistledown.
It's about survival. She needs a husband to get out from under her mother's roof so she can continue her work as Lady Whistledown. If she stays in that house, she is under Portia's control. She isn't just looking for love, she is looking for escape. He's looking for the freedom to be herself, which she can only truly have if she is the mistress of her own home.
Which brings us directly to the hook of this episode. The moment that turns the whole season on its head.
The lessons trope.
The lessons trope. Colin Bridgerton, in his infinite newly traveled wisdom, offers to teach Penelope charm to help her find a husband.
It is such a classic rom-com setup. You think of She's All That or My Fair Lady. But here is why it works as a turning point in this specific story, at this specific moment.
It forces them together.
It forces proximity. It takes them out of the rigid ballroom structures where they have to follow all these rules of propriety, and it puts them into intimate, informal spaces, markets, drawing rooms, gardens at night.
And it shifts their whole dynamic. They're not just childhood friends anymore. They become co-conspirators.
Precisely. They have a secret together now. But there is this deep, beautiful irony here that we really need to unpack. Colin thinks he is the teacher.
Of course he does.
He thinks he is a master of charm because he went to Paris and learned how to wink and flirt. But the episode does a fantastic job of showing us that he is about to become the student of his own repressed feelings.
I love that you brought up the irony, because the episode is titled How Bright the Moon. That feels like a very deliberate choice of metaphor.
It is the central metaphor of the entire hour. Think of the sun as public society. The performance, the fake charm, the rake persona that Colin is putting on during the day. He's performing for the ton.
But the moon.
The moon reveals what the sun hides. Colin starts this episode performing his new personality in the bright daylight of the ballrooms and parks. But by the end, under the light of the moon, that mask just cracks completely.
The lessons backfire on him because they force him to really look at Penelope for the first time.
Exactly. The lessons require him to analyze her appeal, to study her, to pay attention to her. And in studying her, he finally realizes what he's been missing all this time. To understand how that happens, we need to do a deep dive into the 3 key scenes that define this shift. We have the market, the study, and the garden.
Let's start with the market. This is where Colin is trying to act like the coach. They're walking through the stalls, and he's giving her tips on how to smile and engage.
This scene is so vital because it grounds their connection in shared history. Colin is trying to build her confidence, and he does it by recalling their actual first meeting. Now, for us, the audience, this is brand new information. We didn't see this in season 1 or 2. We just assumed they met at a ball or through Eloise.
And he remembers her yellow bonnet flying into his face and him falling in the mud. It's such a specific, silly memory.
And he remembers her laughing at him.
Which is such a great detail. Why does he hold on to that? Most guys would hate being laughed at, especially as a kid.
It's so powerful because it reveals that Colin has always, on some level, been charmed by the real Penelope, the one who isn't trying to be proper, the one who laughs when a boy falls in the mud because it's genuinely funny.
So he's not trying to change her into someone else. He's trying to get her back to who she was.
Exactly. He tells her in the scene to stop caring what the ton thinks. He says essentially, be that girl who laughed at me.
Which is so rich coming from him.
Extremely ironic, considering he cares so deeply about his new reputation. He has spent the whole episode pretending to be this cool, aloof traveler, but it establishes that their bond is rooted in this childhood joy, not in social maneuvering. They have a foundation of genuine friendship and shared humor that the other suitors just can't compete with.
Okay, that emotional intimacy is established. Now let's move to scene 2, the study, or as the internet has lovingly dubbed it, the hand-cut scene.
Or hand porn, if we are looking at the direct fan reactions.
We will definitely get to the fan reactions later, but first let's just break down the mechanics of the scene itself. Penn is reading his travel journal. He catches her. A lamp breaks. He cuts his hand. She bandages it. On paper, it sounds so simple. Why is this considered such a pivotal moment?
It is a masterclass in the female gaze.
Can we define that for a second?
Yeah.
We hear male gaze all the time in film studies. It usually means the camera is panning over women's bodies for the pleasure of a male viewer.
Right. And the male gaze typically objectifies. The female gaze, generally speaking, prioritizes intimacy, touch, and emotional connection over pure visual objectification. The camera work here, by director Tricia Brock, focuses intensely on their hands. And you have to note, there are no gloves.
In Bridgerton, no gloves is basically nudity. It's a huge deal.
It is incredibly intimate without being explicitly sexual.
Yeah.
Yet. It's nurturing, she is tending to his wound, taking care of him. But we also have to talk about the content of the journal she was reading right before this happens.
Yes, that was cute.
Penn reads about his loneliness in Paris. He writes about feeling distance even when he's in a crowd.
That was the moment for me where Colin became a real person again. The swagger he came back with. It's all a defense mechanism. He's just as lonely and lost as she is.
Exactly. And that knowledge hangs in the air between them. And then comes what I call the spark. The moment the witty banter just stops, there's a silence. They are physically close, just staring at each other. And the look lasts for, a beat too long.
You can feel the air change.
Analysts point out that this is the first time Colin seems to feel a territorial or a magnetic pull towards her that just completely confuses him. He doesn't know what to do with it, so he snaps the moment shut. He pulls away. But the damage, or I should say the progress, is done. He has felt it now. He can't unfeel it.
Which leads us directly to the climax of the episode.
Yeah.
The garden. Nighttime. Moonlight.
The setting is absolutely crucial. We are back to the how bright the moon theme. Everything important happens in the shadows, away from the prying eyes of the sun. Penelope has just been humiliated. The gossip about the lessons is out thanks to her own pen as Whistledown, ironically enough.
So she believes she's unmarriageable. She is at her absolute lowest point.
Her lowest point, and that's when she makes the request.
I do not wish to die without ever having been kissed. It's so vulnerable.
It's a bold, desperate move. It's the kind of thing you only say when you truly believe you have nothing left to lose.
Let's analyze the mechanics of the kiss itself, because it wasn't just one smooth motion. It wasn't some Hollywood swooping kiss. It was clumsy and real.
No, and the direction here is so specific and so important. It starts as a pity peck, a favor. Colin thinks he's just helping a friend check something off her list. He leans in, gives her a quick, almost chaste kiss, and pulls back.
But then,
the turn, Colin pulls back. He looks at her lips, he looks at her eyes, and you see the realization dawn on his face. And then he initiates the second, deeper part of the kiss.
that second beat is everything. That's the moment it shifts from him doing something for her to him doing something for him. It's the moment he realizes, oh, wait, I actually want this.
It changes from charity to desire in a split second. And then the aftermath is just as important. Penn says, thank you, and runs away.
Which is just devastating. Thank you. Like he just held the door open for her. That's heartbreaking.
It represents a massive power shift. Colin is left standing alone. The script describes him as being rattled. He looks like a deer in headlights. Penelope thinks it was a goodbye to romance, a checked box, before she resigns herself to being a spinster. But Colin realizes it's a hello.
It's the moment the friend zone is obliterated permanently.
Obliterated. He is left wanting more, and she is gone. The power is, for the first time, in her hands, even if she doesn't know it.
I want to pivot now to some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, because learning about how they made this episode just makes it even richer. We have some great insights here from the costume designer, John Glazer.
John Glazer's vision for this episode and for the whole season really was very specific. He described the aesthetic he was going for as a flower garden. Fluid, organic, not rigid and structured like the previous seasons.
Let's talk about Penelope's glow-up look in this episode, because she looks absolutely incredible. But it's not just a case of she put on a nicer dress.
Yeah.
There's a whole story being told.
Oh, absolutely. Glazer specifically moved away from the citrus colors, those bright, harsh yellows and oranges that her mother, Portia, forced on her in seasons 1 and 2.
Good riddance to those.
He moved toward what he calls ambiguous colors.
Ambiguous colors. What does that mean exactly?
It means he used layers of sheer fabric that can look blue or green or pink, depending on how the light hits them. It adds this layer of mystery. It makes her harder to pin down, less defined by her family's terrible taste. And the silhouette inspiration was actually from the 1950s old Hollywood, specifically Marilyn Monroe.
Marilyn Monroe in the 1800s. That seems like a stretch.
That's not about historical accuracy. It's about the shape and the softness. The goal was to show her softness and mystery, something distinct from the rigid Regency stays and corsets. It emphasizes her curves in a romantic, powerful way rather than hiding them.
What about Colin? Because he looks different. He looks rougher, more rugged.
He does. Glazer actually called the inspiration for Colin this season the Marlborough Man.
The Marlborough Man in Regency, England. You're kidding.
It sounds wild, but when you look at it, it works. They used denim-like trousers. They gave him belts, which are historically inaccurate, but according to Glazer, just looks sexy. And these sort of pirate coats.
And the open shirts?
The open shirts. The purpose was to make him look like an outsider who has traveled. He needed to contrast visually with the stiff, proper gentleman of the ton to show that he's changed. He isn't one of them anymore. He's a man of the world, or at least he wants everyone to think he is.
Speaking of costumes, we cannot move on without mentioning the Queen's wig in this episode. It was impossible to miss.
The swan wig.
It had a motor. The swans were actually moving.
They were. It features motorized swans swimming in her hair. It took the hair and makeup team 2 years to develop and build the motor system for that single wig.
2 years for one wig. That is a testament to this show's commitment to pure spectacle.
It also reinforces the Queen's boredom, doesn't it? She has so much time and so many resources that she is literally engineering mechanical birds for her head just to feel something.
That's dedication. Now let's talk about the atmosphere of that garden scene, because it looks so cool and misty and romantic.
Which is one of the biggest ironies of the entire production. According to the production notes, that scene was filmed during the literal hottest day ever recorded in the UK.
No way.
Yes, it was July 2022. The actors were melting. They were sweating through those heavy wool and velvet costumes. Luke Newton, who plays Colin, noted in an interview how difficult it was to keep the moment romantic while physically suffering from the heat. He talked about trying to focus on the emotion while sweat is just dripping down his back.
So all that cool, misty, moonlit romance was just pure movie magic.
Pure movie magic. It's a testament to the cinematography and the lighting team that they managed to make it look so atmospheric.
I also want to touch on the music. The needle drops in this episode felt very, very intentional.
The music supervisor, Justin Camps, made some really interesting choices. During that early promenade scene, we hear a Vitamin String Quartet cover of Dynamite by BTS. It's energetic, it's fun, it's poppy, it perfectly matches the energy of the season kicking off. But the really telling track is at the ball.
Jealous by Nick Jonas.
Yes. And it plays at the exact moment Penn is talking to Lord Remington, one of her potential suitors. It signals Colin's subconscious jealousy before he even realizes he's jealous. The lyrics of the song about puffing out your chest and being possessive perfectly match Colin's internal state, even if he hasn't admitted it to himself yet.
So the show is telling us how he feels through the music before the character even knows.
That's what a great soundtrack does. It does the emotional work for you.
We have some great reflections from the cast on these specific moments. Nicola Coughlan, who plays Penelope, had a lot to say about the request.
She did. She felt the need to defend that scene where Penn asks for the kiss. She said in an interview that it wasn't about being pathetic, it was about hitting rock bottom. Penn thought she had lost everything, her prospects, her dignity, her secret identity was even causing her pain. She felt she had nothing left to lose.
So it was an act of agency.
It was an act of taking agency over her own life experience before resigning to spinsterhood. It was her saying, if this is all I get, then I want this one thing for myself.
Now, we can't do a deep dive without looking at how the fans reacted, because this episode, it caused some serious debates. The internet had opinions.
It certainly did. Let's start with the begging debate, because that was a big one. There was a real split in the fandom regarding Penn asking for the kiss. Reaction A was that it was cringy or pathetic.
Right, that she shouldn't have had to ask.
Exactly. People wanted Colin to initiate it out of pure, overwhelming passion. They felt she deserved to be pursued and swept off her feet, not to have to ask for a kiss like it was a favor.
But then there was Reaction B.
Reaction B saw it as brave and heartbreakingly human. They argued that given Penn's state of mind thinking her life as a romantic heroine was over asking for what she wanted was actually a power move. She wasn't waiting to be chosen. She was seizing an experience for herself. She was taking control of her own narrative, even in a sad moment.
Then there was the brothel controversy.
Yeah. This was a big one. Fans were largely negative about the scene where Colin visits the brothel and engages with two women. Many felt it was Anthony coded, meaning it felt like something his older brother, the Viscount, would do in season 2. But they felt it didn't fit the established character of Colin.
It didn't feel true to the sensitive nature of Book Colin, as many fans pointed out.
Exactly. It felt like a forced attempt by the show to prove he was a rake, a way to show his Marlboro Man persona in action. Fans felt it undermined the emotional journey he was supposed to be on, realizing he had this deep connection with Penn. It felt cheap to some.
But on the positive side, the hand porn appreciation was universal.
Oh, universally beloved. The internet exploded over the hand cut scene. It is cited everywhere as the prime example of the female gaze in mainstream media, creating eroticism and tension through touch and care rather than through nudity.
And finally, that one little phrase, thank you.
So divisive. Fans were split on Penn saying thank you after the kiss. Some found it devastatingly sad that she thinks it was an act of charity, a favor he did for her. Others found it a polite, almost formal closure to what she thought was a transaction.
But either way, everyone agreed on the effect it had on Colin.
Everyone agreed. It left him wanting more. It denied him the ability to process what had just happened with her. She thanked him and left, leaving him alone with his own confused feelings.
So bringing it all together, after all the analysis, the costumes, the music, what is the big thematic question this episode leaves us with? Where are we emotionally at the end of this hour?
I think the question is this: can intimacy survive the transition from the shadows to the light?
Break that down for us. What do you mean by that?
The entire episode juxtaposes the harsh light of the ton, the ballrooms, the promenades, where Penn fails at flirting, where she is awkward, where the queen is judging everyone with the softness of the moon. Under the moon, in the shadows of the garden, in the study, Penn succeeds. She connects with Colin. She is her true self.
And Colin even tells her during the market scene, living for the estimation of others is a trap.
Which is the ultimate irony of the episode. Colin is the one who is deeply trapped in his own performance in the daylight. He is living for the estimation of the other lords and ladies. Penelope is the one who breaks free by admitting her deepest, most vulnerable desires in the dark.
So the episode is asking us if these two can exist together in the daylight.
Can they? Or does their connection currently rely on the secrecy of the moon? Can they be this real with each other when the sun comes up and the rest of the ton is watching and judging?
It's the classic problem. the perfect private bubble of the secret versus the harsh reality of the outside world.
Precisely. And as we leave this episode, that bubble hasn't popped yet, but it's floating into very, very dangerous territory.
Well, I am certainly rattled after revisiting that kiss.
As is Colin Bridgerton. I think he's still standing in that garden trying to figure out what just happened.
Thanks for listening to Pink Blade.
If this episode revealed something new, you can follow to explore the next chapter.
And if a moment stayed with you, share it in the comments.
Until next time.
This is Pink Blade.